Verbs are cool. I'm talking words like flow, slide, dash, pet, hug, sleep, send, help. All lovely words. Now tell me, have you ever wished there was a language where everything was a verb? Well, you're in luck. You've no doubt heard about the Aztecs, but you may or may not know that at the height of their civilization, they spoke a language called Nahuatl. Yes, with a tl sound at the end, as it is for the majority of nouns. It actually gave us words like axolotl, tomato, avocado, and chocolate. But I digress. Let's get into some of the juicier details of the grammar. Keep in mind all the examples shown will be from classical Nahuatl, spoken while the Aztec Empire was at its peak, as opposed to its various modern dialects. Anyways, Nahuatl has agreement, which is a fancy way of saying that Nahuatl's verbs change depending on the pronoun of the subject, or whoever's doing the verb. I do is nichiwa, you do is tichiwa, and so on. This system is similar to Spanish, French, German, Russian, and a whole bunch of other languages, including even English with the S suffix to mark the third person singular in the present tense. But there are some quirks in this system that are unique to Nahuatl too. For one, in the third person singular, which includes he, she, its, and singular they, the verb doesn't change at all, as the third person is inherent to the verb. This ties into another even cooler difference regarding how languages express the verb to be, otherwise known as the copula. Some languages like Russian and Indonesian are known as zero copula languages, where they don't use the verb be in some or all contexts. Russian uses it in the past and future tenses, but not in the present tense. Instead, the subject is said immediately before the predicate to express this, usually with a dash in writing when the subject isn't a pronoun. Indonesian does have a word for the copula, adalah, but it can be dropped whenever. It is mostly used to emphasize the meaning or for clarity, such as at the beginning of Wikipedia articles. Most other languages, however, require the copula in most, if not all, contexts, of course with the use of a verb meaning to be. Nahuatl mostly falls into the zero copula category, but unlike Russian and Indonesian, Nahuatl has a much cooler strategy for expressing the copula. You know those subject markers that I mentioned earlier? Well, you can conjugate a noun the same way you'd conjugate a verb, and that turns the noun into a verb meaning to be noun. Tisits, for example, means doctor, and if you add the prefix ni, meaning I, you get nitisit, meaning I am a doctor, and every single noun in Nahuatl can be turned into a verb this way. In fact, nouns are technically inherently verb. You know how I mentioned if a verb has no conjugation, then it's treated as inherently third person singular? Well, if we apply that logic to nouns, they translate to he is a noun, or she is a noun, or... Okay, saying all the third person singular pronouns in English gets very redundant. This is even how they're listed in Wiktionary definitions. And why stop at nouns when you could even do this to pronouns? Yes, even pronouns can be turned into verbs. In adjectives, well, Nahuatl has no distinct category of adjectives. They take the form of either nouns or verbs, but even for the noun-like adjectives, the logic holds that these adjectives can be turned into verbs. Everything is a verb. Something similar also occurs in Turkish. Like Nahuatl, Turkish has markers for grammatical person, and can attach these markers to the noun, linked together with an auxiliary verb meaning to be. And just as in Nahuatl, saying a noun by itself can also have the meaning of the third person singular, and gets away with having zero copula at times too. The technical term for this phenomenon is non-verbal person agreement, because it's person agreement, but we're not doing it to verbs. Kind of self-explanatory. At any rate, this is very interesting and cool grammatical stuff. Grammar unfortunately has a reputation of being boring and complicated, but it's really not that bad. In most cases. And can be very interesting and mind-blowing from a linguistics perspective, and I hope this video helped to demonstrate that.